Yo, do you remember the old way we used to just camp out and wait for the midnight launch and we sitting there? But sometimes in the wintertime, like you waiting for Call of Duty and they coming out in November, it's freezing, boy, and we up north. So if y'all remember that, wait a second, I got something for y'all.
He stands, frozen, a monument to human patience. Winter has carved him with cold precision. Frost clings to his lashes like ghostly barnacles. That was then. This is how we play now.
We got a lot to discuss. When it come to news, ain't no better than us. When it come to news, ain't no one you can trust. We got a lot to touch, so it's time to crush. We got a lot to discuss. When it come to news, ain't no better than us. When it come to news, ain't no one you can trust. We got a lot to touch, so it's time to crush. So it's time to crush.
Peace and blessings, and welcome back to Xbox Frontline News with your boy, the King. And today is Tuesday, and what a wonderful Tuesday it is. I think Battlefield 6 doesn't give a damn about anybody's feelings, and they go on full throttle. You heard me? Oh, wait a second. If it's your first time finding the channel, thank you for showing up. And allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is King. I'm your new best friend. I drop Xbox news and video game news daily. Every 30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the norm where we get busy. We're going to talk about these topics. Now, we got to talk about these next generation consoles and exactly what we know about them and what's happening. And if this stuff does make sense going forward. Now, if you are a longtime viewer of the channel, you understand that I say some stuff. And today is a day we're going to spell disbelief. Now, understand, I do know certain things, and I do got a hashtag no PlayStation 6 going on here, but that's a knee bend for another day. What we're going to talk about is all the information that we do know that's leaking from AMD. And listen, my guy at Moore's Law is Dead breaks it down in ways that I can't, because me personally, I'm not a tech dude. All right, so the link is in the description if you want to see whatever his channel is about and all the stuff that he does talk about. But I'm going to get into my perception of how things are, and we're going to talk about that later. Now, some people will say this is coping. Xbox versus PlayStation? No. Now it's Xbox versus TikTok. Matt Booty came out, the head of Xbox Game Studios, and claims Microsoft's biggest competition isn't another console. It's really TikTok, Netflix, and other things that take your attention away from consoles. Now, for a long time, I've told you it's been about engagement. And Microsoft is leading heavily into attacking that engagement and making sure that you guys are front and center in front of any device that is part of their ecosystem. Any way that you're able to engage with what Microsoft or Xbox has to offer to any one of their consumers, they want to make sure that you're focused. And Matt Booty is bringing that conversation to the forefront based on the fact that Halo is going over to the PlayStation 5. Now, a lot of discourse was about, well, why is it going over to the PlayStation 5? What sense does this make? Well, the fact that Matt Booty has to come out and defend the practices of people that makes decisions above his head, well, now he has to come out and talk about what really is the problem, and that engagement is really the factor and how another console isn't the factor. Well, that is hard for you to believe based upon what is transpiring at the moment. When you have the big house talking about, I can't believe this is happening, and they're doing all types of tricks on Twitter to stay relevant, well, again, competition is always going to be competition. When you had Satya Nadella come out and say, if it's about competition, well, let us have competition. Well, did you bow out of the competition? Is it really competition? Or who is the competition? Or maybe you should have stated then when you made people believe that you were going to stay into this fight. Is it a fight? Is it not a fight? What is it truly? Why don't you be a little bit more transparent when it comes to exactly what you're looking after? I know what you're looking after. I know exactly what you want to get. But the fact that you're going to say that it's TikTok and it's not this and it's not that, I understand. But say what you're really after. Because a lot of times people don't understand how they really make their money. After the software sales, exactly what really happens. Tell that part. Because I know what happens, not everyone else. GameStop surges after the White House shares its post celebrating Halo availability on PlayStation for the first time. Now, the level of stupidity that is exhibited by GameStop and, dare I say, the people that are in charge to consider having a word in anything that has to do with console related nonsense is beyond me. The level of distractions that are going on is at its peak. And this is to let you know that if you think that we're moving and operating inside a vacuum, and if the console wars was anything but a joke, obviously it has reached all the way up to the big house. And having these levels of conversations is insane. The fact that GameStop declares the console wars over based upon the fact that Halo has made it to the PlayStation console, and it's not even there yet. With all the stuff that's going on in the world, you would think that the big house has other things on their mind. But obviously, petty nonsense like our BS console war has something to do with what's going on in the world today. I would think my tax dollars will be going to something else, and their level of focus will be on a grander scale than this mindless crap that we deal with every day. Now, I'm not saying this. Had this been on the other side, I will probably have the same level of conversation because I view my money that's going to my taxes as something that's valuable to me, right? So I would honestly think that that value that I'm giving with that cash from my blood, sweat, and tears would be used on something other than this mindless dribble. And the fact that we do have the big house thinking about this is utterly nonsense when you come to think about it. And the fact that GameStop, in any form of fashion, has putting their self in anything lets you know that they forgot that Microsoft gave them money not too long ago when they was at death's door. You would think they have more things to do worrying about the Pokemon cards and the tournaments that they got going on in their stores, knowing that every console is going to digital and soon their stores will be closed. Hopefully there could be a bailout from the big house when they are facing the outhouse. And the fact that the big house is taking away funding from welfare, I think GameStop needs to be looking to other sources for income. So the latest PlayStation 6 rumors is as follows. The PlayStation 6 news leak is happening, and they got a new update. Now, listen, they talk about that the console should be out in late 2027. And that would mean that 2026 is the PlayStation's last hurrah, if you will. And the PlayStation 5. And honestly, I just think that is kind of stupid. But PlayStation 6 could realistically launch in 2028. And they talk about the CPU and the GPU and the processes in which that they're going to start, right? So They have Radiance cores that's dedicated for lighting effects in games, similar to how NVIDIA uses RT cores for ray tracing. AMD is looking to catch up, and the PlayStation 6 is supposedly going to be the console that they're going to try to implement these ideas. Now, what I've noticed so far is Kepler 2 released a report on NeoGAF saying that the PlayStation 6 could release sometime in 2027. Okay, that's late 2027, but the estimate so far is the chipset for the PlayStation 6 will reportedly be running on Kepler 2. Kepler 2 suggests that it will be a Zen 6 running N2 architecture and an early fork of GFX 13, aka AMD's RDNA 5. Furthermore, the system on chip is in pre-silicon validation, which typically takes a 2-year lead time ahead of the 2027 time frame for the console. Now, I'm going to let somebody a little bit more qualified talk about it than I am. I will let my man Moore's Law explain it to you.
PlayStation 6 home console, codenamed Orion. And actually, the first thing to say is the last bullet point on this slide, highlighted in red because it's very important. This info is from a 2023 AMD presentation to Sony. So some specs really might have changed by now, although I did consult with someone that's worked with Sony a lot in the past on their consoles, and this person told me that Sony tends to stick with what their initial ideas were. So while some of these specs have probably changed, I think the overall scope of what they're aiming to do is very unlikely to have changed since 2023. But anyway, something to call out here. Let's go from the start now. It had a chiplet design with some mention of it possibly utilizing a Navi 5 desktop chiplet. So this is important. The initial design in the PowerPoint looked almost kind of like an RDNA 3 design, except it was labeled Navi 5. I believe the initial version of RDNA 5 didn't look that different from RDNA 3, at least in how it was laid out. Of course, now we know from my recent leak about RDNA 5 that actually RDNA 5 is quite a bit different than RDNA 3. And even in this presentation, it was calling out some of these changes to RDNA 5 and that they wanted to convince Sony to use some of the desktop RDNA 5 chiplets in their console, just like they seemingly have successfully convinced Xbox. So I don't know if they've succeeded, right? I don't know if AMD succeeded in convincing Sony to use maybe the same AT2 graphics die as Xbox Magnus. By the way, if they did do that, wow, would that be great for economies of scale and probably drive down the cost of that desktop chip even more. But I don't know if they did, and I don't know if there's a bespoke die. Maybe there's an AT3 die. I've heard there is an AT3 at least, and maybe that's a smaller die for the PlayStation 6. I do not know. Just know that Sony is open to using chiplets, and AMD wanted them to use some of the chiplets they're going to use in desktop RDNA 5. Moving forward, called out in the documents, something obvious. Yes, backwards compatibility to PS5 and PS4. No mention of PS3, unfortunately, guys. Sorry. Also, there is a heavy emphasis in multiple places on cost constraints and keeping power lower than the PS5. In fact, you can see it on screen here that it's targeting 160 watts of thermal board power. That's lower than what you got with the PS5. So this seems very important. Sony does not want the PS6 to cost more than the PS5 Pro. I don't believe so. Now, will they manage to make it $399 or $499? I doubt $399, but I think $499 is plausible. I do not believe this die is going to be very big at all. I believe Sony has been, since at least 2023, I should say, aiming to make the next generation make up for the fact that a lot of PS4 gamers were reluctant to upgrade. And let me continue with the specs then. 8 Zen 6 or later cores. Technically, they were just saying, oh, we're happy to use whatever the newest Zen core is. I believe that will be Zen 6 because, well, I'll get to it later. The handheld, I have newer documents that show that does use Zen 6, so that seems pretty much locked in. Also, this is what it said, guys, 40 to 48 RDNA 5 compute units. So, well, Sony wasn't sure what Zen architecture they wanted to use a couple years ago. They did know from the start they wanted to use RDNA 5, and we're probably working closely with AMD to make sure RDNA 5 specifically is great for the PlayStation 6, and also at 3 gigahertz or higher. So, well, that's less compute units than the PS5 Pro. Like if they go with 48 compute units, keep in mind that it will be clocked almost like 50% faster than the PS5 Pro, and that it will have like almost 65% or something more compared to the PS5 Pro, maybe 50% more performance per compute unit or something. So this will be faster than the PS5 Pro. Now, they also were considering a 160-bit or 192-bit bus with blazing fast GDDR7 and all different types of cache sizes. I'm not going to tell you what cache sizes they considered because, and some of it was called Infinity Cache because, again, I believe RDNA 5 has evolved into a different architecture from what they thought RDNA 5 would look like in the past, and so I don't really know what that means for the cache. Just know that they were not aiming for some 384-bit or 320-bit bus back then, and so I find it likely they'll probably go with 160 or 192, but I actually think they might stick with that. Certainly no bigger than 256-bit. And then there was a bar chart showing performance estimations for the PlayStation 6 in raster, not in ray tracing, in rasterization. It actually looks a lot like that 9070 XT leak I put out, by the way, which turned out to be correct. And they simulated that the PS6 should be around triple the performance of the PS5 in raster. Okay.
Now, the next-gen Xbox is unique, and it has a couple of overlooked concepts when it comes to it. Now, the fact that this gaming PC Xbox hybrid, this mashup, if you will, of a console, will have the ability to play out of the box all Steam games, all Epic games, all GOG games, your whole library that you have in the virtual space, and the ones that you can download from the digital world. This puts it uniquely in a position of having access to everything, and it's not a walled garden. So this open access to the device allows it to do a lot of other things that, let's say, a competitor cannot do. But that is all at a cost based upon the chipsets that are being introduced and talked about. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm 100% a tech head, because I'm absolutely not. But the Magnus GPU inside the Xbox allows us to believe that this device itself is going to be more than capable of handling anything from previous generations and anything that future generations have to offer. Now, the biggest question is, will this thing be in a position to have a modular aspect to it? I don't believe so. But again, dropping multiplayer barrier of entry, could that be the reason why Game Pass has taken the price hike, if you will? When it gets to it, the thought is they had to make this money up from somewhere, and we drastically see that the price hike was $10, and nobody can equate for it, but understanding now that the next console will most likely be dropping the barrier of entry when it comes to multiplayer, and it's more in line with how the PC sensibilities are, then we can see why Microsoft raised the price on Game Pass across the boards. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't let Moore's Law is Dead break down the chip base of the Magnus and let y'all know how that stacks up against the PlayStation 6.
All right. AMD Magnus, the APU, in the next generation Xbox console. So it will be composed of two chiplets. One of them is a 144mm squared SoC die that will be made on TSMC N3P. And I actually have seen N3P specifically mentioned in documentation by now, so I do believe that's the node it is using. And it's an SoC die in that it has the CPU cores, the video out, and the AI engine. Now, in addition to that, of course, it is connected to a 264mm squared GPU die. This is the die that will be shared with desktop Radeon products, and that will be on either N3C or N3P. I still haven't heard firmly which one they're going to go with for the desktop Radeon APU chiplets. And in total, comes to 408mm squared. Now, as for TDP, I believe, and it is just a belief, that they will target around 250 to 350 watts. So you're still looking at something that's like, I don't know, 20 to like 60, 70% more power consumption than actually the PS6. So a lot more power than the PS6, but I still believe they will try to get this within form factors that can be considered traditional consoles. So using more energy than a PS4 or a PS6 for sure, but probably not using radically more energy than like a launch PS3 at peak power usage or something. They're going to want this to be cost effective and not chug too much energy. That is my belief though. I don't know that for sure. Next, it will have 68 RDNA 5 compute units disabled down from a maximum of 70. I've seen speculation out there. Technically, I've already confirmed 70 CUs, but I'm going to do it again here. 70. 100% sure. Multiple sources. People speculating that it's 72 or something. Wrong. It's 70 compute units, right? And then they disable two of those. Now, that is comprised, and this is really interesting about RDNA 5, of 4 shader engines. Most console gamers, you can ignore this section, but for the technical PC enthusiast dorks out there, a lot of you I think will find this fascinating. I have had this verified by multiple sources. 4 shader engines, 3 of the shader engines, like 3 of the quadrants of the design have 9 work groups, that means 18 compute units, and then there's another lopsided shader engine with just 8 work groups or 16 compute units. And each of these shader engines has 2 shader arrays. Now, I can't tell you much more than that, but it does seem like there's something going on here with however they've designed RDNA 5. And I believe they've already talked about that they can do this with previous RDNA generations as well, but like they can have lopsided shader engines. You don't have to have everything symmetrical, and it won't be with Xbox Magnus. Now, the GPU will have at least 24 megabytes of L2 cache. I'm just basing that on what I've seen from desktop Radeon graphics cards that will share this chiplet. I don't know the maximum amount of L2, but it will have 24. By the way, for those keeping track, 24 megabytes, that is almost 5 times the L2 that was in the Xbox Series X. And so while it does not have infinity cache, it has wildly more L2 cache and much faster RAM. And so I do not think this thing will be bandwidth constrained at all. It has effectively just a boatload more bandwidth than the current generation of consoles. Now, one thing that they didn't go insane with, although I do think will be more than enough for PC gaming, is they have 3 Zen 6 cores. Now remember, these are 3 nanometer N3P cores. These won't be clocked as fast as the N2X desktop, cores that will be found in like $800 gaming processors, but they're still going to be pretty fast. They get 3 of those. They will be faster than the ones in the PlayStation 6 Orion or the handheld, and then we'll also have 8 Zen 6C cores with 12 megabytes of L3. Now I say up to, by the way, because I don't know if one of the Zen 6 nor one of the Zen 6C cores, or maybe one of each, are disabled. I do think there's a chance that it will be in total a 9-core CPU that's just faster than the 9 cores in the PS6, but technically it could be up to 11. I don't know if they disable any of the CPU cores, although I did know that they disable part of the GPU. And then the memory controller, 192-bit memory bus with up to 48 gigabytes of GDDR7. For those keeping track, that means that I believe they could go with probably 24 or like 36 or 48 gigabytes of RAM, right? Yeah, I believe that's how that would work, right? Because, 24, 36, or 48. I would hope they go with 48 gigabytes of RAM, because if this is meant to run PC games, you're going to want to, have something like, I don't know, like, what would that be, like 16 plus 32 for like 16 gigabytes of VRAM, 32 gigabytes of system. So that's what I hope they go with. But technically, I don't know the final RAM amount they will select, and they probably don't quite yet either. Now, this is interesting, and this might be unique compared to the PlayStations. This has an NPU, or AI engine, whatever you want to call it, with up to 110 tops when it's operating at 6 watts. But then it also has a low power NPU mode for 46 tops to still meet Microsoft Copilot requirements that uses much less energy at 1.2 watts. I'm not sure why they are worried about 2 power consumption modes, but I assume it has something to do with budgeting more energy for the NPU versus the CPU at times. And I don't know what they will do with this. And technically, if you think about the PlayStation 6 consoles, I still don't know 100% if they do or don't have an NPU. Although I've been talking with developers, and a lot of them think that it would make sense for the PlayStation 6 consoles to just, much like the PS5 Pro, have a ton of tops built into the GPU that it can run off of that, and that it doesn't need an NPU. I don't know. We'll find out. But
On God and them, Battlefield Red Sec, the new free-to-play Battle Royale launches today. Oh, man. Get ready for mayhem across Fort London. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yo, but it's not just the Battle Royale. It's this experience includes Gauntlet, a round-based elimination mode that samples from the franchise's rich multiplayer history, as well as Red Sec's Portal community creations, an ever-evolving sandbox from the community of developers. Bro, you thought Battlefield was just going to sit back and just do Battlefield 6 stuff? You didn't know that they was coming head on straight after Warzone? I mean, the level of attack that Battlefield has been in with launching season 1 and going full throttle with, oh my God, are you serious? The fact that they're doing this is crazy. Red Sec is going to kill. The version of Fort Linden is significantly smaller than the full version. Players who can access the mode are limited to new players, and a 48-player maximum inclusive of bots. So there's going to be some bots in there. So when you're jumping in, you choose your class. You have assault, engineer, support, or recon. And you get to choose from a side-on, small personal defense weapon that's great in a pinch, but also not meant to carry you throughout the whole match. Next, you get ready to parachute to Fort Linden. Either you or your duo will be labeled as squad leader. When the squad leader calls for the jump, both of you will leap out and infiltrate, from the infiltration plane. At that point, the non-leader can break away from the formation and continue dropping on their own. However, they highly recommend new players stay in formation. Your parachute will automatically deploy when you get close to the ground. Alternatively, you can manually deploy your parachute to delay the landing in favor of a more intentional landing spot. Securing better weapons and ammo, scavenging for weapons and ammo and armor become the tools of your survival like any other, oh my God, free-to-play Battle Royale. This is it right now. They're available throughout a variety of crates found throughout the map. The giant rectangular boxes that are green, common, red, black, and rare, with red class and symbols with the chests. You get a chance to know exactly what you're picking up before you pick them up. Look for vehicles that can be opened that contain more items, such as locked bolts and stuff like that. Crates can also contain ammo, which is shared between all weapons and is given a weapon category, while there are other ways to gain more ammo, like picking it up off of dead characters or getting ammo resupply colon. The easiest way to restock is to use the support class and support boxes. Completing contracts. They have contracts in there. Avoiding the circle of death, respawning, and achieving victory. Bro, the Battle Royale is going to get lit. Now, what they want you to do, and just know your class, know how to work with your teams, get in there, make it happen. But the gauntlet, the round-based elimination multiplayer, that's something different. Watch the briefing, play the objective, and communication is the key in getting this done. In the gauntlet, 8 squads of 4 players each go head-to-head in a series of special operations that push every squad to their limit. So if you like traditional multiplayer first-person shooting experiences, then you're going to love Gauntlet. In a day or in a year where I didn't think that EA will be going all out in this manner, listen, to me, even if all this stuff was laid out before they got acquired and got the purchase in, even before then, this thing is showing me that they in it for the long haul. Call of Duty is not giving up without a fight, but with a competitor this vicious, this, oh my God, bloodthirsty. Man, I like a knockout, drag-out fight, and these guys are in it to win it, bro. Much like the rest of you, when I found out Master Chief was going over to the PlayStation, I decided to call Spartan Locke and have him finish the fight. Being that I got the word from Xbox that Spartan Locke is now the face of Xbox, well, 117, you have been decommissioned. I'm going to show you how that went.
All hail the conquering hero. Let us remember him as our protector and not the one who gave us this. As our savior and not our betrayer. Let us see him forever as you and not as you. All hail the conquering hero. The one who was supposed to save us all. But now I must save us from you.
Do it. Do it now.
Now, first and foremost, I'd be remiss if I don't say that PlayStation having a mandate to come in at a lower price point isn't alluring for the casuals and mass market and the appeal of their consumer. A watered down device that is stated to just do exactly what it's intended to do. Play video games, be that walled garden, if you will, that just caters to that crowd. And I think that kind of works for what they want. They don't have any aspirations of greatness or wanting to be anything other than exactly who they are and who we know them to be. They will make a traditional console where that traditional console will play their traditional games and, cater to those people that want that type of experience. And the PlayStation experience, for the most part, has been relatively the same throughout the years. Now, it has declined a lot in recent years with the slowing down of first-party titles to the platform. But nonetheless, they do happen to command a great following inside the gaming space. So those people that love that type of experience, that let me just go and let me just do this over here, isolated, single-player, story-driven narrative experiences, well, then this device is definitely going to speak to you, and their ecosystem talks to you. But then there's a different level of philosophy. With the Magnus overlooking whatever Orion does, and when I'm saying these code words, Magnus is the Xbox version of the next-gen console, and Orion is the PlayStation 6, Sony's version of their next-gen console. Whereas Orion is looking to come in a little bit weaker, a little bit affordable, and closed off in their ecosystem, well, The Xbox Magnus, code name from AMD, that's the chipset, looks to come in at a stronger price point and also more flexible in what the device is planning to do. Now, with some leaked documents that came out, they're looking to do away with the paying barrier for multiplayer. And with Sarah Bond saying things like premium and curated, well, we understand that the price of the next generation box will be substantial. Now, we did get a chance to listen to Moore's Law and his thoughts on what the next generation Xbox will bring to the table and what they will consist of. Well, we can see that it's considerably more powerful, more versatile, and it is embracing an open barrier, if you will, type of system. Whereas the PlayStation is going to do a closed ecosystem where a walled garden is, and you pretty much can do multiplayer outside of that. They will probably continue to have you pay for multiplayer. Microsoft and Xbox is looking to embrace the broader, if you will. So whereas they will have Steam, Epic Store, and GOG, along with other launchers that will be there like Ubisoft and EA Play, where all your games will be curated in your own device, and you'll be able to set up your front page, your back page, and stuff like that. That's a drastic change to what PlayStation is looking forward to. Now, the ecosystem with the Xbox is more or less play anywhere, play everywhere. With the upcoming Play Everywhere or Play Anywhere initiative, they have a new show coming up soon, and I'll be talking about that on another video. The Xbox seems to take things up another notch. Whereas if you love gaming, then you will have all your gaming in one space. That includes PlayStation games, that includes every game from all third parties, but also the first party titles that you get over at Xbox. With a generational thought process, all your past, present, and future Xbox games will be played on this device, not excluding things like the PlayStation 3 on the PlayStation 6, but those titles will be available on this device. Now, the departure in philosophies. We could talk about and debate what makes more sense for who. Ultimately, it's going to come down to the consumer. Ultimately, it's going to come down to where you made your digital footprint. Now, I expect PlayStation people to pick up a PlayStation 6, and I expect them to game in that ecosystem. But is it enticing to have access to everything day one and also have access to everything that was ever in your Steam library? With more and more people embracing PC gaming and building their library across various different storefronts, is that more enticing to you? Is having extra and more something that you're looking forward to? Or are you just the individual that just wants that finite experience? That, hey, I casually game and I can just game on this device in the manner that I choose. Or I like the controller. Or my friends seem to be here. With that ability being afforded to you through the Xbox, where you have Discord, talk to your friends, jump in, play your games. I think the differences in philosophies from the budget standpoint to what they cost to the availability of the devices across different screens to the play anywhere or play just here mantra, this is the first time we got a chance to see both consoles come into the marketplace diametrically opposed to each other. Now, we do expect the Xbox console to come in at the marketplace a whole lot sooner than the PlayStation 6. And in doing so, to gain a different level of mind share going forward. With individuals building their libraries now, and those libraries carry over to the next Xbox and the next PlayStation, what library really matters? During and coming up with the new platform situations, now, there's no level of warring going on when the only thing that these companies are looking forward to is your data. With Matt Booty explaining that PlayStation is no longer a threat to them, with entities like TikTok and Netflix being the true threat to Microsoft because they want your engagement data to help build the Azure cloud system out, and the AIs that they have in the background needing your data, well, data, needing your data. We understand where Microsoft's intentions lie, where one company just wants to carve out their gaming space, another company wants to carve out your entertainment space. Anything that galvanizes your eyeballs, they want to make sure that they distract you from doing that. So if you look at TikTok, well, they want you to look at TikTok on their device. If you look at YouTube, they want you to look at YouTube on their device. They want you to be consumed with their ecosystem and their devices. And with that, I understand what the greater ambition is over at Xbox. Now, they do have a thought process with 2 SKUs, and I see that the PlayStation is playing around with that as well. The ultimate winner in all of this is AMD, because AMD is making the chipsets for both of them. But I want to know in the comments below, which one do you choose? Do you choose the PlayStation, where it's sit here, play this, and enjoy this curated experience just for you? Or is it the Xbox, where it's here's all these tons of games, all this multiplayer stuff, all this extra stuff that you're able to do, open, if you will? Is that more of your liking? Please let me know with the comments below. But it seems like this Call of Duty Battlefield 6 stuff is heating up. With RedSec dropping right now, we know that Battlefield 6 is in it to fight to the death. With Call of Duty yet to release, Call of Duty Black Ops 7, we do know that they tend to put up a hell of a fight. And we're going to get a chance to see exactly what that means when it comes to Call of Duty versus Battlefield. So far in the MPDs, Battlefield is getting their nose broke. And Call of Duty still the reigning champion at this moment. But all of that can change with today. Engagement is key. And if you're engaging it with Battlefield 6, I want to know to what level. But this is Xbox Frontline News with your boy, The King. I want to thank each and every last one of you guys for showing up, hanging out with me, and going over these topics. Now, we do know that the next generation is showing up a whole lot faster than I anticipated. I don't believe that this generation really got a chance to breathe and grow. So hopefully, I don't know if a lot of you guys are going to switch over to next generation or if you're going to ride this generation out. Pause. But we will see. Now, this is the part in the video where I'm going to tell you to like, follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I drop videos daily, and I'm going to thank you for showing up. But hey, I want y'all to do what I do daily. I want you to go where winners game and players play, and try to play the Game Pass.
Play it day one with Game Pass.